Imagine you become a ghost and you were dejected into a life of passive observation. You may not initially despise this thought, as there is a world of information to explore and things to observe. However, in the endless passage of time as you observed and observed, you would find yourself yearning to use the knowledge you've acquired, to tell people things, create things, and manipulate your surroundings. This fate would slowly turn from an acceptable situation to a nightmare, where you wish to be able to make your mark on the world and develop personal connections to things around you. Yet more and more, we are willingly subjecting ourselves to this nightmare. We increasingly experience life less through our own lived experiences and interactions with the world around us, but instead through passive consumption of media and content. This content does not involve or connect us, or fulfill our need to self-actualize. It simply sedates and numbs us, providing enough stimulation to prevent us from boredom, but not enough to cause us to actively think or involve ourselves. We consume this content constantly, and we have come to consume content about the world several orders of magnitude more than we actually interact with it ourselves. And it's causing people big problems. The argument I want to make here is focused around too much time being spent watching non-engaging, mind-numbing video content. But I would like to start by talking about a similar but different criticism of consumerism as it relates to consumption of material goods. We see this criticism all the time, the critique of consumerism and focusing life around consuming products instead of creating your own enjoyment naturally. This criticism is not completely different from what I'm getting at, but I think it rings hollow for a lot of people. I have always generally rolled my eyes when seeing takes like this, as all I could see were more things that we had access to. What's the problem with having more options on what you want to do and how you want to live your life? And that's the crux of the issue with the anti-consumerism argument. There's nothing inherently wrong with consuming products, and having more material things in your life, just as there's nothing inherently wrong with passively consuming video content. The problem is when you do very little else. In many cases, our ancestors were happier with their lives than some of us are today. While phenomena like depression and suicide are by no means new, reporting of self-description of depression has increased, as have the symptoms corresponding with it. There are a million reasons as to why this is the case, the majority of which may be true to some extent. But I believe the main crux of the issue can be summarized relatively briefly. Our ancestors had more tight-knit communities and interactions with their in-group. They spent more time actively shaping the world around them. The time they spent was often to an end or general long-term goal, the improvement of their community and society. They channeled their need to accomplish something into working for the people they loved. These things are much more true for earlier people than they are for people living here today, whether those earlier people are from 200 or 2,000 years ago. Many people who believe our ancestors were happier take this fact to mean that the advancements we've made as a society are bad, and that people are not compatible with more advanced societies. I don't believe this at all. I think we're just not using our advancements correctly. We can have TV, products, time-wasting nonsense, and passive activity. These things can all be positive parts of our lives. It just can't be all we have. Passive consumption has slowly taken over many people's everyday lives. Kids are raised on tablets watching YouTube autoplay. Teens get home from school and watch Netflix and YouTube. Adults work a job where they don't feel personal connection with their work, come home tired, and watch cookie-cutter late-night TV shows. As I've said previously, spending time doing these things isn't inherently bad, but people tend to have a natural tendency towards getting things done, whether that be work you need to do, a project you're interested in, or wanting to make and spend time with friends. Passive consumption allows you to procrastinate these things, and numb your mind with barely engaging content until the next day. Instead of spending free time accomplishing things, people fall into the trap of it feeling easier just to turn on the TV or computer and desensitize themselves, just wasting time doing something slightly entertaining until it's time to go to sleep for the next day. They get caught in this cycle of work, tired, consume, sleep, work, tired, consume, until of course they are depressed, because they are stuck in a mediocre and unchanging existence. They don't feel like their life is going anywhere or leading to anything, They aren't active participants in their environment, and even at work, they are likely not the ones calling the shots. They're just someone who needed a job and follows the instructions they're given. It's unlikely their job even has an obvious impact that makes the world a better place. By spending all this time numbing their brains, they have put themselves in a place where they have nothing to build towards. They probably have a lot less close friends than people used to have, they're less likely to have a family, and they have few meaningful hobbies. This only further perpetuates the cycle. They have nothing to do or spend time on, so they just keep consuming. This is why I make the point that passive consumption can be corrosive. If you're not careful, it can eat up every part of your life, so you're depressed and it's really difficult to get out. I think there are three main reasons that passive consumption in excess can be harmful to individuals and societies. The first reason is that it is an unfulfilling activity. Very rarely when passively consuming content are we actually accomplishing a goal we've set out for ourselves, or bettering our lives in some way. It's okay not to spend every hour of the day accomplishing something. It's even good to relax sometimes. But spending too much time accomplishing nothing leaves us with a sense of emptiness, and we feel guilty for the time that seems to be wasted. If you spend most of your free time passively consuming content, you will end up with a feeling that you're wasting your life, which is an easy way to get people pretty depressed. The second reason is that this activity doesn't improve yourself. Up until this point, I've made a point to refer specifically to what I would call mind-numbing passive content consumption. It is possible to consume something that you're not actively physically involved in, but it is something that challenges your mind and causes you to actively think. While I don't think you should spend all day doing this either, I think spending large amounts of time consuming content that engages your brain is significantly less harmful than spending large amounts of time consuming what I would call mind-numbing content. I previously used late-night TV as an example of mind-numbing passive consumption, because something such as a late-night TV show or a sitcom doesn't teach you much. It doesn't keep your brain thinking. Your brain is half off when you're watching this stuff, and you basically just enjoy the content spoon-fed to you. If you spend time doing activities that challenge you physically or mentally, you will improve yourself. This relates to the previous point in that self-improvement gives you a feeling of accomplishment, but I would not say that that is the only good thing about self-improvement. Self-improvement does give you a feeling of accomplishment, but I would also argue that it is good in and of itself. To be a wiser, stronger, or more talented person than you were yesterday is something that can drive people forward single-handedly, even without a community around you or building up something external to yourself. If you're spending all day passively consuming mind-numbing content, you'll miss out on this self-improvement, and your time will truly be wasted. This ties in to the third and final main reason I think passive consumption is bad, because it's a waste of your potential. Every single one of us was born with the incredible gift to manipulate reality as it exists around us. It sounds like I'm exaggerating, but when I put it in these terms, it magnifies the wonder of the simple but extraordinary ability we all have to do things. You are not the passive ghost in the hypothetical I began the video with. You are not a leaf floating through water, powerless to change your circumstances. You have the power to think and take action. You are just as much a part of the universe as a star, an asteroid, or a molecule. But what sets you apart and makes you special is you have the incredible gift of thoughtful action. You have the power to change things to be how you want them to be. If you spend most of your time performing passive activity, you will have wasted that incredible gift and potential. You can build things. You can think of ideas and test them. You can perceive and then interact with things. You can shape the area around you to be as you want it to be. How you want to use this gift is entirely up to you, but I would encourage you to spend less time watching and more time creating. It's not ironic that I expressed this idea in a YouTube video, so don't comment that. Thanks for fucking watching, everybody.